I got my little mini blasting box out here, puts out 270 volts. I gotta hold him down for 8 seconds. Charges the capacitor up in there, the light turns yellow, then I'm gonna hit this. But before I do that, I gotta say fire in the hole. Like such. Oh, that's nice. It goes all the way down in there. Fire in the hole! We got some big old rocks down in here. They're all made out of limestone. And of course, that's a sedimentary rock. And we've got the Sierra Blaster already set up. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and fracture this one. And this one, I'm gonna show you how to do it. And I'm gonna teach you the different types of rocks out there so you can use this tool, the Sierra Blaster, a whole lot better. Because I guarantee this is a perfect tool if you're gonna be out there looking for placer or lode mining, because you can fracture rocks of any size. You just have to know how to use the tool. Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole! I wanted you to get a good look at this. Here's our first shot, and it fractured this limestone out. Our second charge, the reason why it didn't go off, and you're gonna see this time to time, is these little spring-loaded clips, sometimes they'll cut when they'll pinch the wires, and they'll literally cut the wire, and you'll get a bad connection. So all you gotta do is check to make sure that it hasn't snipped off that copper lead. That's the biggest thing I've seen on these Sierra Blasters. Now here you can see where I fractured the limestone really, really well. And another secret to these little guys is compression. You've gotta keep the head inside as much as you can, because the whole thing works off of compression. So you want to stack rocks on top of the heads whenever you can. Now we're going to be working on an angle on this one. I'm going to show you how to stack rock on that, or something to keep the head in. And then of course we'll get into using multiple boosters, and I'll explain all that. Limestone is a really soft rock. If you look up Mohs hardness scale, you'll see that this is a 3.5 to a 4. It's relatively soft rock, and of course it's sedimentary, so it's got a lot of bedding planes in there, and it fractures really easy. The harder stuff is going to take a little bit more work, but we'll get into that later. I just wanted you to get a close-up view of this rock, how it fractures it beautifully. We're going to get onto this one, and then I'm going to go through the whole thing with you, and we're going to have some fun. The first thing you need to do is determine the type of rock that you're drilling in. The harder, the better. Now you got a lot of igneous rocks that are really, really hard, and they fracture great, and they have a lot of compression. This is limestone. Remember, it's 3.5 to 4 on Mohs scale. I know it's gonna fracture real easy, so I don't need a lot of blasting on this guy. First thing you need to do, drill your holes. You're gonna start with the smallest bit you got, and then work up to the biggest bit. Remember, you don't wanna go all the way through the rock. You wanna be at least halfway through, if not 3/4. You see, here's the back of my rock. Here's the other side. My rock is about maybe 18 inches thick. I highly recommend you get yourself a measuring stick to find out how deep you are. Now right now, I'm about this deep, which is 3/4 easy. So I'm not gonna go any deeper. I got one right next to it that's 3/4 too. So I'm gonna blast these in succession and fracture off a big chunk of limestone. And since I'm starting to work under an overhang, I gotta put my hard hat on in case I get some loose rock coming off the back. Here's your starter bit. See how tiny that guy is? And then there's your intermediate. And then there's a decent length right there. If you can afford it, get as many of these guys as you can. You can get them at Lowe's or Harbor Freight or Home Depot. But the point being is, if you're gonna drill a whole bunch of holes, because you're gonna fire like 4 or 5 heads, you're gonna wanna rotate your bits. Keep them cool, because they'll wear out super fast if you just keep grinding them in there. If your rock has a flat bedding plane like this limestone does, you wanna drill the same angle. Now I've seen some guys go straight down in there, and you can do that, but I found out that I can fracture that rock better if I drill at the same angle as the bedding plane or the linear surface, or if I'm working with metamorphic rock and I've got foliated rock there, I'm gonna drill at the same angle. Blasting will be a lot cleaner. This guy right here, I've seen a lot of guys just shove it all the way down in the hole and crank on it, and you'll break this pump. You don't wanna do that. First thing you wanna do when you buy this pump is you're gonna wanna notch the end of the tip right there. You see that? Notch it. The reason why is that when it's all the way into the back of the hole, there's no notch there, and you crank down on that thing, you could actually pop that seal. If you have a notch in there, it has somewhere for that air to blow out to the side. So you put it in there gently, back it off a little, and pump slowly. Don't get in there and crank on it. If there's too much pressure, you can actually pop the top here or rupture the seal. So remember to do that, nice and gentle. All right, so I got my heads in there. You should always try to put weight on top of these. Now I'm gonna lean some rocks on them so it'll compress it into the hole, because when it goes off, the more compression it has to force in, it forces more of that blast down through the rock. If not, you'll just see them pop up a little bit. So let me get some rocks on here. Okay, let's see what happens now. Fire in the hole! I think that one I just died. Let's take a look at that. Now see that? I know you're thinking it didn't go off. There's my borehole right there. But if you look in the back of it, see where it ruptured? Yeah, that one went off good. See that? There's my borehole right there, all the way down. And it almost popped out the bottom. See that? You gotta be careful. And of course you can see where this one fired too. See where it's empty? And it fractured this rock beautifully. If your rock is deeper than these blast rods, and it's gonna happen, this length here, you can put boosters in the hole. And what we did here is, if you notice that my hole goes almost all the way to the bottom of the rock, I actually put 2 boosters in there. I'm gonna show you how to do that. Now, if your rock is really big, you could actually put water in the hole, and that will actually amplify the blast force, the compression wave. So I'm going to show you how to do that too, but I just wanted you to see that because I know you're thinking, your hole is deeper than the length of that rod. How did you do that? That's because I had 2 boosters in there. I'm going to show you how to prime these guys because there's a specific way I've found that it's much easier. So the first thing you do is you take your firing line, and there's your 2 leads right there, and you put them through. Be careful not to break them. See how I got it sticking out the other side right there? I don't know if you can see that. And then I'll take the other one and gently put it in the hole. And make sure it's sticking out the other side. See that? I can see it right there. I don't know if you can see that. Then, take your firing head, put it into the top, right through here, see that? Slide it all the way in. Last but least, put your charge on the end. And then make sure your little slot is clean, because every time you're gonna fire a charge, it's gonna actually get built up with rubber and pieces of that line. And then you're just gonna go ahead and push him into that slot, like such, all the way down. And make sure he's in there all the way, because if not, it'll jam up in your borehole. Then you're gonna take him, slide him into the borehole, just like that, straight on in. All the way to the bottom. It's very important that this guy goes to the bottom of the hole. If you got any air down here at the bottom, the charge is gonna rush out the bottom and it's not gonna do anything. So you gotta make sure it's all the way down in there. Now, don't put your hands on top like this. Hold it from the side and push down. In case it goes off, you don't want it to pop up. And then of course you're gonna put a big rock on top. But that's very important that there's no air down at the bottom of this drill hole, because all the explosive force, the pressure wave will go out through there and you won't get nothing. So we're gonna shoot this rock and get out of the way because it's too big. I can't lift it. Fire in the hole. Fire in the hole. Now this is more for your placer miners instead of your hard rock miners. Okay, because remember I told you you could use this thing either way. Now over here, this is good representation. See this big old munker right here? It's like a 1,000-pound piece of limestone. Now remember I told you about limestone in Moe's test, about 3.5 and 4 on the hardness scale. And there's bedding planes. Actually the bedding planes run this way. So I got my holes drilled in there, and then I'm gonna show you how to load this thing up and see if we can split it open. I already got one head loaded up and ready to go. I maxed out that hole all the way to the bottom. Now remember, you're gonna need a measuring stick, just like this one right here. And I've already cleaned my hole out, and you can see I'm that far down. See that? Or what I'm gonna do is you get a box of boosters that comes with your Sierra Blaster. You see that? And you're gonna load them up in the hole. Make sure they go all the way down to the bottom. Kind of like in the old days where they would tamp the dynamite down into the hole. So you're gonna make sure that you fill up that hole with some charges, because you want to make sure that your rod is in as far as you can go, but you don't want it all the way bottomed out and then leaving a gap of air, because this guy is not going to set off those boosters. They have to be in contact with each other. There's something else I want to show you before I get ready to load this hole. I know some guys have problems with misfires, and I can understand that. There's a way to get around that. All right, so what do I got here? I got a cheap multimeter. You don't have to go out and get a fluke or something like that. You just get yourself an inexpensive one that can do a continuity test. If you guys know how to do that, you should if you're playing with this. All right, so you're gonna put it on continuity test. Hear that? I know that I'm making connection. Now what you're doing is you're checking the bridge wire in here. There's a little tiny bridge wire inside of this primary charge, and you wanna make sure that it's intact and hasn't ruptured. So I've already got my firing head already primed, so I'm gonna come down here to the connectors. See that? Now I know my bridge wire and my connection is good. Of course you could take it all the way out to the firing line, but if I got it good here, I'm not touching the wires now. I want you to see that. I'm touching right here at the bottom of the metal itself. See that? And I hear that and I know I've got continuity. So then I know that this guy's good to go. I'm gonna set him down on the ground, and then I'm gonna load these holes up and make sure that these heads are as far as they can go, but not to the point where there's air below them and they're bottomed out. So let me do that, and then we'll get ready to fire this thing. You be careful because these pieces are sharp. Now, come here, take a look at this. Remember what I told you is limestone fractures real easy. And I told you have to go at least halfway to 3/4 down into that rock if you want it to fracture right. Now, I could have probably done this with one head, and I've seen old timers do it all the time. You just have to know exactly where to drill and how deep. Now, take a look at that. See that? Well, you can see my charges, they went off. Of course, they're empty. And then down below, see this? These are my boosters. Each one went off because I can tell they're deformed. Look at that, all the way down. There's my borehole. And it fractured it beautifully. Now, I'll be able to come in here with a crowbar and move this out of the way. And if there was any placer gold underneath it, like in a stream, it'd be nothing for me to move this stuff out and get underneath where nobody else has been. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Jeff, what about the big rocks, huh? Yeah, well, the big rocks are just the same as the little rocks. All you have to do, like I said, is get halfway to 3/4 in. Now, that might mean that you're going to have to invest in a very, very long drilling rod. Or maybe you could fabricate your own. But anyway, my point is, it's all about the drilling. It's all about how you load them and the compression. I'm gonna look for a big rock out here the size of a house, and I'm gonna prove my point that I can blast any rock with these. I only need 2. Technically, I only need 1. So anyway, I want you to see this. If you got questions on how this works, please, I want you to leave a comment down below. So anyway, we're gonna go up and do some more gold mining because that's what I'm out here to do. Because I can smell it. I know it's out here. I gotta have it. 4 pair. I got 5 pair. I don't know about you.
Yeah, but I also got 4 aces, dude. Tops everything.
Must be a peach of a hand. Why, Ed, you look like you're just about to bust. Well, cover your ears, darling, because I called.
I got 2 full houses here.
I got 5 kings. Let's see if he... Hey! I heard somebody at the door. So come on, let's go!